In college basketball, the most mind-boggling player situation has been and still is Brandon Boston Jr. We've made a couple videos talking about him. In some videos we've criticized him, and in some others I've given him some praise. Going into this season for Kentucky, he was projected to be a first-round pick, not only a first-round pick, but a lottery pick and a one and done. He was a 5-star recruit, so people thought he was going to come into college and it was going to be a breeze, but that wasn't the case. When I say he struggled, I don't even know if that puts it into perspective at just how bad he was at the beginning of the season. But however, everyone was trying to give him a pass and say eventually he's going to turn it on, and that really never happened. Game after game, we kept waiting, and he never got out of that dry spell. He had a couple games where he would drop 14 or 15 points, and people were trying to say he's back, but one good game doesn't make up for 8 bad ones. You gotta do it at a consistent rate for at least 4 to 5 games before me personally, I say you're back. Although Brandon did have a 3-game stretch this year where he scored over 15 points, that's all we've seen. During that 3-game stretch, I actually made a video talking about how I thought he was going to be back, but it didn't happen. To my dismay, and I wouldn't even say surprise to everyone else, Brandon Boston right after that 3-game stretch went back to being not good. I'm calling this and him the most mind-boggling player and situation for this year because of this one simple reason. When you're a big-time player like he was at Sierra Canyon, you build up a big fan base, and he still has that big fan base. So when you're struggling, you're going to have people criticizing him, but you're going to have those fans taking his back. And that's why it's quote-unquote mind-boggling, because you have some people giving him the benefit of the doubt, and then you have other people criticizing him, so you don't know how to feel or think about it. And even till this day, when I'm making this video, I'm still in that mind-boggling stage with him. I'm making this video too because this has been a highly requested video, because anytime he does good, you guys love to tag me on Instagram, and I really appreciate that. Recently, a lot of people were tagging me on this post that was from Take Flight Hoops, and they said Brandon Boston has found his groove at Kentucky. Shout out to them, you can go follow their Instagram, I'll put it up on the screen, but basically they posted a picture where Brandon Boston through his last 2 games was 9 for 13 on threes and shooting 50% from the field. And then in and I mean very small letters at the bottom, it says started the season shooting 20% from 3. But of course, they're fans, so they're not going to highlight that. 95% of the people that watch me know where I'm coming from, but the other 5% feel like I'm hating on him or hating on other players, when in reality, I'm just giving you the truth. I don't think I'm a sports analyst by any means, but I would be doing a bad job on my part if a player anywhere was playing bad and I would tell you guys that he's playing good. That just wouldn't make sense, and I can't do that to you. I tell it how it is, and also I'm very blunt with it. The truth hurts, I get it. If Brandon Boston is your favorite player, you wouldn't want someone talking bad about him. I 100% understand. I just want you to think about this though. If Brandon Boston had 3 games where he shot 0 for 12 from the field, and I came up here and made a video talking about how good he is, wouldn't you think there's something wrong with me? Exactly, that's what I thought. Anyways, back on topic with that post, I put the post in this video for this reason. Kentucky Basketball Updates, who's very good and they're always posting, I normally look at their Instagram to see what's going on with Kentucky. They posted the same thing but said this: Brandon Boston has been getting in a smooth rhythm over the past few games. He shoots 50% from the field and 9 for 13 on threes. I know. You're sitting there right now like, Matt, why are you telling me this? I'm a big college basketball fan, and I've been watching all the Kentucky games, and quite frankly, they are must-see TV. The reason they're must-see TV is because 1, people love to see them lose, and they're losing a lot, and number 2, every single game they play comes down to the wire, and that's what I love to see. Also, too, I am paying attention to how Brandon's been playing, and he's been playing good in the past couple of games, but not like those Instagram posts made him out to seem. There's always 2 sides to every story. In those Instagram posts, they was talking about how he's made 9 of his last 13 threes, but they're not going to tell you this. In Kentucky's previous game against Auburn, they did get the win, so that's good to see. Yes, he went 5 for 8 on threes and shot good behind the arc, but he only went 5 for 12 from the field. Finished the game with 17 points. Even though he went 5 for 12, I watched the game and he looked really solid out there. So I guess we'll give him the check mark for that game. That was good. Let's talk about the game before that though. Against Arkansas in a game they really should have won, and they was winning most of the game, they lost by 1 point, but here was Brandon's stats. Played 34 minutes, went 6 for 10 from the field, 4 for 5 on threes, and had 17 points and 7 rebounds. Once again, another check mark and a W on the stat line because he's been shooting terrible behind the 3-point line all season. I just want to say this too, I think Boston is a good shooter, he just lacks confidence, and if you're a shooter, that's what you gotta have. He doesn't look like that 5-star recruit and the best player on Kentucky. I think personally, just from watching, Davion Mintz is their best player and he has the most confidence. Actually, let me backtrack on that. I think Isaiah Jackson is their best player, but when it comes to late clock situations, Davion Mintz always makes the big time shot. So for the previous 2 games, yes, Brandon has been what the hype has been talking about, but let's talk about the third previous game. 3 games ago against Tennessee in 26 minutes played, he went 2 for 11 from the field, 0 for 2 on 3-pointers, had 4 rebounds, 3 fouls, and 6 points. Not too much to say about that. He didn't look good out there, and the stat line didn't look good either, so let's talk about the Missouri game. 4 games ago against Missouri, he went 4 for 9 from the field, 2 for 3 on threes, and had 10 points. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt on that game. I watched it, even though his stat line isn't that great, he looked better than average. But at the end of the day, 10 points, 4 for 9, it's just mediocre. So our last and final game I want to talk about, and this is a good sample size because it's 5 games, is the Alabama game. 5 games ago against Alabama, Brandon Boston was 2 for 9 from the field, didn't attempt a 3-pointer, and had 8 points. Once again, I know what you may be sitting there thinking, Matt, why did you just tell me his stats for all 5 of those games? In his previous 2 games, yes, he had good performances. He was averaging roughly 17 points per game, and he shot good behind the arc. But in the previous 3 games before those 2, he's only averaging roughly 5 to 6 points per game. I'm also a firm believer that scoring isn't everything in basketball, and the only reason I'm talking about his points so much is because he doesn't get any assists, so there's no reason to talk about that, and he's not a board getter. He gets roughly 6 to 7 a game. Basically, what I said about that, if he's not scoring, he's not a factor. Throughout this entire season for Kentucky, I'm not going to talk about the team because they've been awful, but for Boston, he's only had 2 stretches this entire season where he's looked like that 5-star recruit. One where he had a 3-game stretch and we made a video about it, and in his last 2 games he's looked really good. With all that being said, I still think it's flat out absurd for people on Instagram or any social media to say Brandon Boston's getting his groove back and he's looking like that 5-star recruit, because that's just talking out of your mind. Having 2 good games in a row doesn't mean you're back. Until he does this 5 to 6, maybe even 7 games in a row, we can't even say he's living up to the hype. Is he playing good in the second half of the season? Yes, I would say he's looking better than the first half, but not by much. What's happening is, and it happens in every sport and every situation, is that people get stuck on what just currently happened. And what just happened with Boston is he had a good game and he's had 2 good games in a row, so people are still stuck in that moment. When in reality, if you look at the big picture, he's not having a good / great season, and it's been average and maybe borderline good during stretches, if you want to say that. To put everything more in perspective, I want to share this with you. When everyone was saying he was playing bad, I believe he was averaging roughly 11.9 to 12.1 points per game. My bad. I just looked at a previous video where we talked about it. He was actually averaging 12.1 points per game and shooting 36% from the field. And currently right now for the entire season, even with those good games, he's averaging 12.2 points per game and shooting 37% from the field. Roughly a month or 2 ago, he was averaging 12 points per game and shooting 36% from the field. Fast forward in time to where people are saying he's quote unquote back, he's now averaging 12.2 points per game and only bumped up his field goal percentage by 1%. I'm not going to speak on that too much. You can do what you want with that information. All I'm going to say is those numbers are very close. Last but not least, I want to end this video off with this too, and another reason this is mind-boggling. People don't know what to think about him. And by people, I'm talking about NBA executives. They don't know if he's a lottery pick, a first-round pick, a second-round pick, or even if he should get drafted. And the reason for that is because he's inconsistent. Whether you agree with what I'm saying in this video or not, not, we can all agree on this, he's inconsistent, and that's straight up facts. And when you're taking a lottery pick or a first rounder, you cannot take a chance in the NBA. You gotta get a for sure guy. Most teams do not like to roll the dice and get a player who's performing like Boston is. And that's why I'm bringing up the word mind-boggling a lot, because it is. You don't know which way or where to go when you talk about him. When I think and talk about Boston, I could legit see him being a lottery pick. But then I could also see him not even getting drafted. But then I could also see him being a first rounder or second rounder. This is something I've never seen with a player before. At the end of the day, people just don't know what to think about him. And the worst part about this, and John Calipari has said this, is that it's so frustrating because he is a great basketball player. He's just not performing great. I've said this before in almost every video talking about him. I think he's a great basketball player and eventually he will figure it out. But it hasn't happened, so I can't talk like he is a great basketball player right now. Like I said, it would be crazy to me to say he's a great basketball player right now in college when he's not performing great. And once again, it's even frustrated as a basketball fan and YouTuber because I know how good he is because I made videos about him in high school. He's a straight up stud, there's no other way to put it. It's just not clicking for him in college. Is he scared? Is he nervous? I don't know, but just from watching the film and watching the games at Kentucky, he doesn't look confident, and that's a big problem. One thing I've really noticed is that if he hits a shot, he'll start to shoot more. But if he misses one or two, he looks to pass. And that's frustrating because you gotta keep shooting. And now you can't even say he's the best shooter on the team because unbelievably, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. The best shooter on Kentucky is their center known as Sar. This dude's jump shot is on lockdown. If he's open, it's going in. And I think he's shooting almost 52 or 53%. Not from the field, but from the 3-point line. This video was really long, but we had a lot to talk about. And I may end it off with this right here. If you're still watching, where do you think Brandon Boston will get drafted? Because it's been released, not publicly, but it's been stated that he's going to go. Do you think he's a lottery pick, first rounder, second rounder, or undrafted? Right now, I don't think he's going to be a lottery pick. I think he's going to go around that 17 or 18 mark. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a like for more. And as always, let's be great. I'm out, yeah. Peace.